Hi, everybody, and welcome again to another episode of the ShopNotes Podcast. This is episode number 42. This episode is brought to you by Inventables, a new CNC solution for your business. Make bigger projects faster with the Xcarve Pro. You can see it in action at xcarvepro.com. All right. For today's episode of the ShopNotes Podcast, I was going to focus a little bit on some of the projects that I've been working on.
Okay.
Not that I'm trying to dominate the conversation, but I've tried to be a little bit more proactive about being in my shop this week, even though it's been colder.
Yeah, sure.
So one of the first things is, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes page, is I have really come to love my drill press powered edge sander. We did it as a project in ShopNotes years ago, and I don't know why. It's just biases that you pick up, but I've always been a little biased against the edge sander as a concept. Not sure why. Probably because it's related to sanding, and you should get your edges with a hand plane or just make sure that it's a clean cut off the saw, blah, blah, blah. However, I have watched the work habits of one Mr. John Doyle, and he is an edge sander master.
Yeah.
And has inspired me to kind of overcome my inner bias. Well, plus, I will say that some of the big edge sander that we have in the shop can be a little intimidating of a machine. Like I've sanded my knuckles a few times.
Oh yeah.
And had to go walk 15 feet to pick up the piece that got shafted out of my hand. And
yeah, well, and it can eat through a lot of stock really quickly with a new belt,
Right.
And that's why I'm an edge sander master, because I'm a bandsaw amateur. It's like get it within 3/16 to 1/8 of an inch and just sand it all off the rest. Sand to the line.
There you go. But I guess what's funny to me is having watched you even do that with plywood pieces too. You'll cut something on the table saw or miter saw or something, and then just go fine tune an edge or an end using the edge sander. And I just thought was, I don't know. So anyway, and I've had that happen over this quarantine where I've been in my shop more often. So I've figured out a way to get it set up on my drill press pretty quickly now, so it doesn't take a lot of time. And I have it tuned and a nice belt on it so that it works. It works really well. It's kind of shocking to me on how nice it is to be able to either clean up an edge or to refine a profile. And what made me think of it this week is I'm working on a couple of cutting boards. One of these was the same pattern that is in our current issue of the magazine. And then one is one that Dylan Baker came up with that I saw sitting on his bench. So I traced it, probably unbeknownst to him. It's got kind of, for those of you who aren't watching on YouTube or on the show notes page, it's got kind of like a meat cleaver shape to it. But I realized that instead of trying to emulate some kind of crazy wood machete look, that it's for, you chop something and now you have a handle and you can just dump it right into your cooking pot. So, and I just needed to, what's that?
Makes a great paddle too.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if you're on.
Oh, see, I was going like paddling kids. That's where I went initially.
No.
Of course not.
No. So anyway, I had to clean up edges and on end grain with hard maple is not something I want to do with a sanding block or hand tools, really. I'm just not that guy.
Yeah.
But that little edge sander that I have took care of it lickety toot.
Yeah. I will say though, I found it easy with an older belt to scorch.
Oh yeah.
Maple too. So you have to walk that fine line and be careful.
Right. And I think that's probably where my intimidation and animosity with our shop one came from, is because it either has a new belt or a really old glazed belt. Mm-hmm. So the new belt will just snatch something out of your hands and fling it, you know, or the old belt will light it on fire almost instantly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
you know, and I think that the drill press edge sander kind of has an advantage over a big one, because the big ones you can kind of stall out. They're direct drive, right? So like the motor's hooked to one of the rollers, right? Where with the drill press, you have some like mechanical advantage there with pulleys and stuff. So I feel like you might get a little more torque, which is not always needed or a good thing, but you know, like our shop built edge sander that we have in our TV studio where John's sitting, I've stalled that one out before. You know, if you're pushing really hard on a big plywood piece, you can kind of slow it down and stall it out. So I feel like, you know, the drill press edge sander might have a little advantage there.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and I think so too. And the other thing is with the drill, going along with what you're saying, is you can change the speed. Mm-hmm. You know, so I can dial it down if I'm working on, you know, maybe harder materials that are more likely to scorch, or speed it up if I need to work a little quicker or something like that. So,
Sure.
And I've also found that, and this was something that I had talked about with Chris, because when he designed the 2 drill press edge sanders that we've done, is that a coarse belt is the preferred one for an edge sander, just because it removes material quickly and isn't as likely to have heat build up as a finer grit. Mm-hmm. You know, so even though they make belts, you know, up to 220 and even higher, I think that, you know, he recommended going with an 80 grit and leaving it at that. So, which is nice because it works really quickly. And you think 80 grit that it looks like it's been gnawed on, but it doesn't. It's a pretty smooth edge.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's one of the projects that I've been, or I guess 2 projects that I've been working on this week. So,
So you say you're making cutting boards for Christmas gifts, or
they were more like leftover pieces of wood, and I had them sitting around as potential projects. So I'm trying to get these cleared up and out. Like they just...
Yeah. That's always good, just to get the easy stuff finished and out the door and clear the space.
Yeah. One of them I think is going to be a Christmas project or present, but the other one I'm not sure what I'm going to do with yet. Mm-hmm. But if I have it done, then I can store it out of my shop somewhere else. And, you know, if I need a last minute gift for something or for somebody, or, you know, then I have a few in the hopper.
Mm-hmm. You were probably trying to be all covert about it, and I just like blew the surprise for whoever is watching or listening to this. So sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
It'll for
still
me,
be a
isn't
surprise.
it?
Yeah,
it was for me. No,
yeah.
Sorry, I ruined it.
That's why I didn't hold up the other side, because it says to John Doyle.
Yeah, I'll still act surprised.
The other thing that I'm working on is we're doing kind of a joint fun project with Popular Woodworking on Christmas ornaments, Christmas tree. So I've been working on a few of those that I have hanging in the shop right here. One of them was inspired by the Christmas catalog from Lee Valley. So in addition to all the stuff that I want to buy from that catalog, the cover had this fun little carved tree on it. Mm-hmm. So, and I had a bunch of pine that I've been messing around with in the shop. So I thought I'd try and make something similar to it. So I did that. And got to use a shave horse that I picked up from a recent company auction that we featured in the magazine. And I wrote the article for it, the project article. Ted Krylacek, one of our former designers, designed and built the original. So it's kind of fun to be able to use, and just a different, enjoyable way of working. And then I thought I wanted to do one other ornament just to be kind of fun about it. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do and was kind of racking my brain over it. And then it came to me. I have one of my favorite artists is a guy who is a mid-century modern guy, Charlie Harper. I'm holding up one of his books here. And he's done a variety of birds and things like that. And I saw his cardinal, or one of his cardinal versions. So I'll put a photo of that on the show notes page. So I did a pair of cardinals. I'm not quite done with the painting, so I did a male and a female. Again, using some leftover pine that I had, and then did some painting with General Finishes acrylic milk paint, and that was fun working with pine. So what I did differently is Charlie Harper's work is real geometrical, curves and circles and straight lines and things like that. So I softened it up by creating little carved facets on the edges and on the tail and that kind of thing, just to give it a little bit of depth and personality. So
yeah, there's nothing that makes you feel more like a superhero than having a sharp hand tool and pine.
That's exactly right, because the little knife that I was using, I roughed it all out on the bandsaw, and then I had my carving knife, and all of a sudden it's just like zoop zoop zoop. Oh, I guess this is going to go a lot quicker than I thought. Yep.
Yeah, I was working with pine recently and had a sharp hand plane and chisel, and it's like, yeah, I'm a pretty good woodworker. That made me feel good. So cool.
Yeah. You guys got anything?
I don't know. It seems like since we got the TV show done and we're kind of at the beginning cycle of a new issue, it's like I have time to get all of these projects that I have on my to-do list started, and it's just like I'm all excited and running around and like not really getting anything accomplished, just getting a lot of things started. I don't know if you ever go through cycles like that.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm gonna get all these things done and I'm gonna do them, but a lot of startups, but then I need to get to the finishing step, which is the hardest part. So,
which is why I'm working on those cutting boards.
Yeah,
because I had started them a while ago and just kind of tucked them away, and it's just a lot of visual clutter.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was funny. I was in my garage yesterday and had been working on the playhouse for my kids this summer, and I had a piece of the siding plywood that we had used, and I had it just up on sawhorses because I was sanding something or whatever, and they saw that plywood on the sawhorses, like, "Oh, Dad, you're building the door for our playhouse!" Oh, and they were so excited, and it's just like, no, I wasn't, but now I feel bad, and maybe I should work on it. But so I don't know. We'll see. I kind of shut that down for the season, hopefully. But
winterize it.
Yeah, winterize it.
Okay.
So, but
a lot of spray foam, triple pane windows.
Yeah, there you go. I just need to close it all up with foam panels and be good to go.
Couple gallons of antifreeze.
Yep.
Make sure you flush the toilet.
That's right. Oh wait, that wasn't a toilet in the playhouse?
I just winterized our camper, so
yeah,
you gotta do all that.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, it's pretty bad when we get the 50-degree days. It's like, oh, this is a nice day. Let's go outside. And it's not really that warm, but better than the 30-degree days. So,
yeah. So I've been experimenting with that. I think last week we talked about I was experimenting with that desiccant gel.
Oh, yeah.
About how I had roughed out a bunch of bowls. So I had a revelation, okay? And this is, you guys ever have those revelations where you're like, yeah, duh, I knew that. Duh, what was I thinking? Okay. Here's my duh moment.
Okay.
If you seal a bowl, a
Right.
rough turned bowl blank with Type Bond 2, which is a
Sure.
waterproof glue, it doesn't allow moisture to come out.
Okay.
Like, I mean, that's
I can see where you're going.
that's kind of a dumb moment, right? So I had rough turned these 2 hickory bowls, okay? And I'm in the shop here, and I don't have any of my anchor seal here. I used to actually keep a gallon of anchor seal here, but I got low at home, so I took it home at one point, and I ran out of anchor seal. So what am I doing? I'm going around finding all the chunky, expired, 12-year-old glue that we have, and I'm scraping out the bottom of the bottles just to get rid of some of them, but I'm sealing some of these bowls with glue, right? I mean, it's great end seal. It's a great sealer. It works great.
Sure.
So I took them home, and I was like, "Yeah, all right, let's try this thing. Let's get one of these hickory bowls all dried out in this desiccant gel." So I found a Rubbermaid tub I had at home. It was round. It fit the bowl perfectly. So I dumped the 3 gallons of desiccant gel on there. I'm like, okay, here we go. This is perfect. This is gonna be easy. You show the guy on YouTube pulled his bowl out the next day, and it measured like 7% moisture. This is gonna be awesome. I pulled it out the next day, and there was fissures all over. There's cracks everywhere that there was not glue.
Oh.
And I'm like, duh. The glue is blocking all moisture from escaping those areas. So I basically ruined one of these bowls, which, I mean, it was kind of an experiment anyways.
Right.
And some of my experiences sawing hickory, I know it likes to move and twist and crack and stuff. So not that surprising. And it was kind of it was an experiment anyways. I wasn't terribly concerned. I'll still probably squirt a bunch of epoxy into those cracks to hold them together and do something with it, right? Mm-hmm. So I had a ash bowl that I had rough turned. So I grabbed that and brought it back in here. And I think one of the issues I had with the hickory bowls is I left them very thick. Most of the stuff I saw on YouTube mentioned that you should have them fairly thin, so about 1 inch thick, which is most of everything I watched was on guys drying these bowls that were about 10 to 12 inches in diameter. And just leave a bowl rough turned at 10% of the diameter in wall thickness. So a 10-inch bowl, you should leave it 1 inch thick to dry. So I'm thinking, okay, they're still adhering to the 10% rule. So these bowls being 18 or 19 inches, I'm leaving, 1 3/4 thick. But I decided on this ash one that I was going to thin it out. So I thinned it out yesterday morning, maybe the day before. Anyways, a couple days ago, I thinned this out to about 1 inch thick. And I got home and I took all the desiccant gel and stuck it in the oven for 3 hours to dry back out because it did absorb a bunch of moisture. And then I buried this thing, and I dug it out this morning, and it's pretty dry. I mean,
oh yeah,
yeah. So I measured it, and I measured it in a couple different areas. And to be fair, the 3 gallons of desiccant gel I had was not quite enough to cover this thing. So I had some areas that were really, really thin on the desiccant gel. I had some styrofoam blocking in the bottom to take up some voids, but this thing measured out to be approximately, depending on where I measured it, about 14%, which is pretty much standard air dry in Iowa. Okay.
No, okay.
So I brought it in today and stuck it on the lathe, and I finished basically turning it. So if you guys are looking on YouTube, it's pretty much turned to the shape I want. There was a couple, it did come out with 1 or 2 cracks on it, but I was able to spin those out and get them taken out of there. There's a few small ones on the inside where the end grain is, and I might stick this back on the lathe and take a couple more cuts on the inside. But overall, I am pretty happy with shape, size, the drying process on it. I did this morning order a couple more gallons of desiccant gel just so I have enough for a bowl that size.
Yeah.
But I'm going to call it mission semi-successful.
Okay.
I did discover that I think if I'm going to do big bowls like this, that I need to order a different tool rest for our lathe here in the shop, because there is definitely some limitations on reaching the inside of a bowl. You get your bowl gouge really cantilevered over the tool rest, and it starts putting a lot of torque. Luckily, the Jimmy Clues tools that I'm using, I made the handle for it, and it's really long, so I can counteract the torque. But yeah, I'm going to say it was mission semi-successful, so I'm pretty happy with it. So
all right.
I think we're going to start pounding out some more bowls and burying them in desiccant gel and see what happens.
Cool.
So, yeah.
We'll pause here for a moment to remind you that this episode of the Shop Notes broadcast is brought to you by Inventables, who have a new CNC solution perfect for a small business. You can make bigger projects faster with the X-Carve Pro. Check it out. It's at xcarvepro.com.
So I still have not figured out why you're not supposed to eat desiccant gel. Everything says do not eat desiccant packets. I'm sure it's not good for you. I just want to know what would happen.
Right. Probably just sucks all the moisture out of you and you go all like Mother Gothel from Tangled.
Okay. I mean, that sounds like a great way for wrestlers to cut weight.
Right.
Yeah. You just got to pass the desiccant.
Yeah. Or they fill up a stock tank with desiccant and then they have the wrestlers just sit in it.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My son saw those the other day when I was drying them out. He's like, "Are those Orbeez?" And I was like, "No, but kind of." So yeah. I'm excited I actually sealed this thing with some shellac I think it might be a hair wet in some areas still. So I sealed it with some shellac to hopefully keep it from moving a ton while I was coming out here to do this podcast. But I'm going to hit it with some more sandpaper and hopefully smooth it out. And then I think I'm going to throw some walnut oil on it. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So where are we at on the 50 bowls in 50 weeks this year?
Yeah, this is bowl number 12.
Okay. So we got to hit it hard the end of the year.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, these last 8-9 weeks, we're gonna have to go nuts.
Okay,
go ham.
I think we can do it.
Yeah,
I think we can.
Sure.
And we're gonna probably have to be pretty liberal on what we're calling a bowl or a vessel.
Right.
Yeah.
2 cutting boards, vessels.
Yep. I did actually. So I finally brought home my second vice stand too. John helped me a little bit in my truck this morning on top of all the basswood we filmed cutting yesterday. It was still in the back end of my truck. So I loaded that up and brought it in there. I figured out I'm out of leg screws to attach it to the wall. So I have to get some of those, but yeah. So
is your shop reorganization coming along then?
Oh, no. That's why I'm in this room, because I'm ashamed to be in my shop right now. It's actually it was like I don't know if you guys ever get something that just frustrates you so much that you have to walk away from it. That was my computer today, which is in my shop. So I just had to get away from it. I sat there for like 3 hours trying to get it to work, and I just had to get up and walk out. So
see, it's funny because on some of our YouTube videos, we get shamed because our shop is too clean, like the video studio shop is. And it's like, it's just a TV set.
Yeah.
Real shops are not like that.
It's fake. Those aren't actually planes back there.
Right.
They're plastic.
It's green screen.
Yeah, everything's green screen.
It's like those fake invasion cities that they built in Europe during World War II, where it's just like they're all balloons and.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. No, my shop right now really needs a little bit of organization. Partly because I've been working on like 6 different things at the same time, and I have an extra bandsaw in here that I need to sell yet. And
yep. So if anybody's looking for a bandsaw,
yeah,
Phil will make you a deal.
Right.
They can buy the story of like, this was Phil Huber of the Woodsmith shop's bandsaw.
Yeah, with
he only used it on Sundays on the way to church. Lightly used.
Yeah, with a custom mobile base.
And a fence system. What, didn't have a fence, like some sort of fence system on it, or?
Yeah, I made the fence for it. Yeah, that was another custom. It's a hot rodded. It's not your stock Craftsman 12-inch bandsaw. It's definitely had some special modifications. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
It's like the Millennium Falcon of 12-inch bandsaws.
Okay. Did you take the restrictor plate off? Just running it wide open. You have it overclocked.
Yeah.
Water cooled. Nice.
Ooh, hey, technically, my bandsaw is water cooled. My bandsaw mill.
Oh yeah.
So
the water from the trees.
Yes.
Sweat from your.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. But no, my shop. This whole shop reorganization thing. I don't remember exactly where it's. Well, it started because I was getting the bench vise stand, or I built the bench vise stand, right?
Right.
And it kind of like one thing led into another, and then all of a sudden, all my tools are on the floor. And I didn't do it, and I don't know how it happened. So it's honestly a good thing, because I'm finding some tools that I have doubles of that I don't really need, right? Like, so I had for example, a dado blade that I bought from Harbor Freight when I was probably 10 years ago when I was building, 7 years ago when I was building my son's crib, and I had actually gotten a nicer one. So it's like, well, I have that old Harbor Freight one. I don't need two dado blades, right?
Right.
So it's stuff like that, or finding, 3 different antique jeweler saws. Like, I don't need those. Like, I have a nice new Concepts, and I have a nice blue spruce one. Like, I don't need those. So it's like I'm finding random stuff like that I don't really need. So it's like, okay, let's thin the herd a little bit. And I'm also, in my shop, I had all my woodworking related stuff in there. So like I had a bookcase in my shop that had a bunch of woodworking books and magazines and journals and just random stuff in it. It's like I really could use that space for lumber storage instead of a bookshelf, because that's dumb. Why would I have that in my shop? Not saying anybody that's listening that has a bookshelf in your shop is dumb, but in my shop, it was dumb. So it's like, I'm rethinking my entire shop layout. So,
if you only have one dado blade stack, how do you cut 2-inch wide dados?
Radial arm saw.
One pass. Just.
Yep. Exactly.
That's his other mod. Is he put an extra long arbor.
Or it's an arbor extension. Yes. No, it's funny. I decided, speaking of the dado blade, I got rid of it this weekend. Okay. And not that I needed any more lumber, but somehow I ended up trading my dado blade for some lumber. Like, I had a guy randomly message me, said, "Hey, are you interested in trading your dado blade?" 'Cause I think I put like $25 on it, right? Like, it was actually like an $80 dado blade from Harbor Freight, which I thought was crazy when I bought it.
Yeah.
But he's like, "Hey, do you want to trade your dado blade for some teak? I have some rough sawn teak." And I'm like, "Where did you get rough sawn teak?" But yes.
From his teak tree here in Iowa.
Yeah.
So I discovered teak has the largest leaf in the world. Did you know that?
No.
Or one of the largest leaves of any hardwood tree. They are 24 by 36 inches.
Wow.
Oh,
who knew?
A lot of chlorophyll.
Yeah.
Yep.
Knowing is half the battle.
It is.
Yep.
So, needless to say, I have all the teak he had was fairly short. So I had a bunch of like maybe 3.5 inch by 16 inch boards, like perfect outdoor lantern size.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep. So
nice.
Yep. Finish them with some teak oil. I don't know how they press the teak to get that oil out.
Mm-hmm.
Or do they milk it like
from the teak?
Yes.
Okay.
I was thinking more like
like
maple syrup taps.
Mm-hmm. Oh wait, I have HR. Like, in. Should I take that call?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I've been somewhat a little maybe jealous of Logan and his sawmilling recently. So I brought this up in a podcast, I don't know, about a month ago, that I have this hand rip saw, and that it needed to be sharpened. So I tried sharpening it, and I believe that I was fairly successful on it. So I was doing some milling of my own by hand with some, I think this was red pine that we discovered or figured out that it was, that I got from Chris Fitch.
Sure.
So I had a couple of blanks of it that had relatively straight faces that I could start to do some hand resawing. I've seen a few articles about it in some of the other titles and just wanted to give it a shot. And it's stuff that is too big for my bandsaw right now. So a fun hand tool technique it's not like I'm going to go into business on it or anything, but it was an interesting skill because I think overall it's going to end up helping me to be a better hand sawyer.
Sure.
In, being able to cut straight and follow a line and go with it. So I been making a variety of cuts this week. I think I did about 5 or 6, maybe a few more. Trying to do like 1/2 inch material from some of the pieces that I had, just because, for smaller projects, 1/2 inch seems like a good size to work with. And then I did a slightly bigger piece. I did one that was 1.5 inches. And this one is like almost 9 inches wide, just about 2 feet long. And I'm going to make something for my wife for Christmas with that one. So she does not listen to the podcast, so I'm safe on that.
Yeah.
FYI.
So I'm going to ask you this. After ripping with that handsaw,
yeah,
do you have any desire to make a frame saw? Because traditionally that's how you would resaw lumber, right? You could use a rip saw, but a frame saw I think is seen to be a little easier.
Right. I get that. What got me started on this, admittedly, and this should come as no surprise to anybody else, is that we are aware of the other woodworking magazines that are out there.
What? There's other magazines?
And Fine Woodworking a couple years ago had an article by the guy who's the supervisor at the cabinet maker's shop at Colonial Williamsburg, Bill Pavlak. And he did an article on resawing by hand and said that when he's doing it, he uses a handsaw, a traditional handsaw like that, for pieces up to about 12 inches.
Okay.
And then once you get above 12 inches is when he goes frame saw.
Okay.
So I mean, I know that they're modeled after an English cabinet maker shop, so I don't know if European continental woodworkers would have gone frame saw sooner. Because I know that there's, I can't think of the guy's name now, who's out of Canada, who does a lot of hand tool woodworking. Tom Fidgen, that kind of restarted with a frame saw, and he has a kit that Bad Axe Tool Works sells for a frame saw. Is that a Roubo one, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
So I haven't had that desire to go with a frame saw. I haven't really tried using one, so I don't know. It was just more of a, I was interested in getting a few more hand saws, and a standard rip hand saw like that seemed more like I would end up using it than a frame saw.
Sure. I feel like a frame saw would be awkward to get the hang of, like, initially.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I mean, I hand saw fairly often. Heck, yesterday or 2 days ago, I hand sawed some styrofoam. Come on.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but I feel like using both hands, and I just feel like it would be weird.
It would be a tough mechanical rhythm to get into, I think.
They're very aggressive, though.
Yeah.
Like 3 teeth per inch. Like they're pretty meaty.
Yeah. So for right now, for pieces that that I've been working with, I'd like to use softer woods again, like we were talking about in the vegan woodworking episode.
Yep.
That I so I'm working with red pine and learning to resaw by hand, and it was a lot of fun. So
awesome. I resawed some stuff this weekend out of a log form.
Yeah. Did
a big old 36-inch oak that was really cool, and I actually cut a true hard maple this weekend, which we don't really see very often in Iowa.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it was a Green Mountain maple, and it was probably one of the cool. I think I sent you guys a picture of it when I was doing
that
it.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like one of the coolest, most colorful pieces of tree I've ever cut. It was pretty awesome. So the lady who I was cutting it for was almost crying when she was seeing the boards come off. She's like, "That is so amazing!" I guess she had people like telling her she was nuts because this was a derecho tree,
right?
And she had people telling her she was nuts for saving this trunk of this maple tree. And I was like, "No, this thing's like, it was amazing. It was super cool." I'll put some photos up on the show notes page, but it was very cool.
Yeah.
So did she keep that at her house, or
yeah, she did.
What was it?
Yep. She was in Marion.
Okay.
Yeah, Marion, Iowa. A lot of the places I've been sawing have been in Marion. I don't know if that's kind of northeast side of Cedar Rapids. I don't know if the northern half got hit a little harder than the southern half of the city or not. But yeah.
So you've still been spending a lot of time over there in the Cedar Rapids area?
Yeah, I have been. It's just there's so many trees, so many people that want stuff milled. I mean, a lot of the people that I am there are a majority of the people in Cedar Rapids and the area. They just want their trees cleaned up. They don't care about saving it. But if it's somebody that has a sentimental attachment to a tree or a property for some reason, those are the people I tend to be milling for. And it's very quick. If I say I'm coming to Cedar Rapids, on a classified post, 15 minutes I'll have a weekend filled up. So yeah, a lot of walnuts, a lot of big oaks. That maple tree this weekend. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that yours was probably more rewarding, being all hand powered. But I'm not gonna cut those logs all hand powered.
No. nor would I expect you to.
No. So we did film some basswood yesterday. That was fun.
Yep, that was cool.
Yeah, in the middle of filming, one of my arborists called me and said, "Hey, I got a basswood or a linden tree," and I got the address, and it happened to be like a mile down the road. So we packed up the film crew, buckled them in their booster seats, and brought them down the road to mill that basswood. So that was kind of fun. So they were also taking down a huge hackberry. Like it was massive. Could have been 4.5 feet across. It was huge.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it was big.
Okay. Well, I think that wraps up another episode of the ShopNotes Podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or smart remarks, we'd like to hear from you. You can leave them in the comments section on our YouTube channel, or you can get a hold of us by email, woodsmith@woodsmith.com. We'd also love for you to rate the podcast. You can do so wherever you get your podcasts from, your local podcast atelier or small business. So otherwise, we'll see you again next time on the ShopNotes Podcast. A reminder that this episode has been brought to you by Inventables, a new CNC solution for your business. Make bigger projects faster with the Xcarve Pro. You can see it in action at xcarvepro.com. Thanks, everybody. Bye.